So I got to check out Xcom Enemy Unknown today at E3, and one of the first things that struck me was that it's very clear that it is Firaxis that is working on this. Firaxis being the studio that's done all the Civ games, and most notably, I think in this case, Civilization Revolution. It was a kind of game where they had to take this sort of broad and expansive idea and not necessarily simplify it too much, but figure out a way to make it palatable and sort of give it the kinds of trappings that people who are more accustomed to playing more recent PC games and console games would be able to get into. It still seems to be complex in all the ways that I think are going to matter for people who are into the old games, but there just seems to be a lot of things that are kind of guiding you in the direction that will make you sort of get the ideas and acclimate to the way that the game is played. One good example is the way that they've kind of taken what were previously kind of like disembodied concepts in the previous games and have kind of married them to characters. An example in this would be the engineer, which is the character that resides in your base that is kind of advising you as to what you could do with the alien artifacts and the alien technology that you recover after you go into individual missions. I only played the tutorial and maybe 2 of the missions after that, but after each one we recovered technology and the engineer would say, hey, with the stuff that you recovered we can get to work on upgrade X or upgrade Y. Upgrade X would give you this and this, upgrade Y would give you this or that. One significant way, though, where it doesn't really make any compromises, is the area of permadeath. In this game, your squad members, you're able to level them up. You can give them names. You could kind of specialize them in all sorts of different ways. But if they fall in battle, they're gone forever. You're going to obviously think twice about sending your people into harm's way. You're going to sort of embrace the careful, tactical approach that the game seems to require if you want to survive, especially if you're playing with a squad that you've invested a lot of time into. There's even a mode called Iron Man where the game is not going to allow you to save outside of very specific predetermined locations. If you're anything like me, you can imagine playing a game like this, and if you have a good round in a tense battle, you're just immediately saving after it. And if one of your people falls, you just immediately reload. If you die, it's over, the guy's gone, and you just have to live with it. The early levels that I played, I didn't really have access to any of the cool stuff that you're going to get to when you're in the game and get high level and all that. It allowed me to get a feel for the basics of the flow, how things work in a game, and as I said, it's all about very sort of deliberate tactical movement. Every round you're going to want to move your units into a place where there's cover, because until you actually make contact with an enemy in these games, you kind of don't know where they are. The boards are all full of pieces of cover. Varying destructibility. If you hide behind a crate, you're going to think twice, especially if you suspect that you're unknowingly flanked by enemies. The way that the sort of obstacles in the world are inviting you to reach through them, to go into buildings, out through windows in those buildings, and sort of take enemies by surprise. All that stuff seems to be accounted for in those early levels, and it's really cool. In one situation in the tutorial levels that I played, 2 of the aliens that I had engaged had taken cover in this rickety shack. One of my characters had a rocket that I was able to throw at it and destroy it, and in the process also kill the aliens in there. But the same is also true for my units. It's really easy to kind of maneuver through it. The game kind of immediately marks out the ranges of your units, how far you can go. If you want to move rather than move and act, you could move an extended distance. There's no sort of special mechanics involved in like scaling buildings. For instance, if you encounter a structure that has like some sort of clear access way to the higher level, you can immediately get up there and then interact with all the cover elements in that place. Even in these early levels, it seemed that the levels were built with these kinds of tactical features built in. What they showed later on, that I actually wasn't able to play, was a really cool scenario where the player controlling it was using this really super buffed up squad. The sniper, for instance, had a suit of armor that allowed him to levitate, and as it was moving horizontally, it was also able to move vertically in space. And essentially as a sniper, you can imagine if you're 40 feet up in the air, you can just blast at whatever's down there with impunity. There was an assault unit that had like stealth armor that was able to basically move through you know, amongst enemies without being detected. There was this crazy psionic unit who was able to do some crazy mind control power on another enemy unit and cause it, you know, essentially fully take control of it and cause it to drop a grenade on its own position. They hinted at a lot of cool stuff when I spoke to them, like there's going to be a whole layer of gameplay after you sort of get past the early portions of the game where you're merely reacting to alien abductions and alien terrors. And if you upgrade and invest your resources in a certain way, you will eventually get to the point where you could have like a satellite network around the globe that will allow you to more proactively pursue the aliens, and presumably that's the path toward the end game where you could get to the point where you could like take out the aliens, you know. They're promising that there's a bunch of different approaches to every game you play. I certainly hope that this new XCOM is going to lend itself to that kind of replayability. One thing I'm not 100% sold on is the aesthetic. I still think it's a little too kiddie Halo-ish, or, you know, like a kiddie version of Halo or something. To be honest, when I was playing the game, like that stuff just kind of receded into the background and I was fully engaged in what was going on, like tactically, and it looked pretty cool, and I'm definitely excited to see more of XCOM Enemy Unknown.